So Urban Meyer is now a fired NFL football coach. And coming into the season-long storyline arcs, as we always point out here in the NFL, it's a week-to-week league, but there's always a season-long storyline arc that we're looking towards. And two of them mesh together in Jacksonville, Florida. How will the rookie quarterbacks fare? That's an annual storyline arc. And then how will one of the most successful coaches in the history of college football, finally lured to the NFL by a team that has one of those generationally talented rookie quarterbacks, first overall, and Trevor Lawrence taken, right there in front of him. And that's why Urban Meyer was a season-line storyline arc. How will he fare as a coach in the NFL? And who knew that we now have the answer to that question heading into week 15 of the season? And the answer is colossal failure. There's no other way to put it. Or spectacular faceplant. There's just no other way to put it. That he is now the first college coach to go to the NFL to not complete his first season since Bobby Petrino. And as we all know, Bobby Petrino did not finish the season due to his own choice. Although you could make the case that Urban Meyer's choices certainly made the bed that he is now lying in as a fired NFL head coach. And we can talk all about Tom Pelissero, my colleague from the NFL Media Group's article, laying out the arguments that he apparently had with Marvin Jones and that Urban said was not a heated argument. And Marvin Jones did finally speak this week to say that the two did have a conversation, a talk about his criticism of the receiving corps that rubbed Marvin the wrong way. And we could also talk about him reportedly in the last couple of weeks calling his coaches into the room and making them defend their resumes because his is one of a winner, and those coaches that he had called in, he was wondering if they were up to his standard. And you could also make a case of this preseason of him, hiring the strength and conditioning coach from Iowa, even though every single blinking red light in the NFL said you can't, you shouldn't. Saying that he cut players based on their vaccination status, even though, interestingly enough, the players that he cut were mostly vaccinated. And bringing Tim Tebow in, and me believing at the time that perhaps he was trying to set some sort of standard in his locker room and point out to all of the players in that locker room that if you play so hard for me and you do for me what I'm asking of you, then I'll have your back years down the road when you want a shot too. And I couldn't have been more off about that, to be honest with you. And also what wound up apparently looking, as it is, like the last straw, did not have on my bingo card any of these items that I've just mentioned, but kicking a player, didn't see that one coming, but apparently that happened back in August. Josh Lambo, place kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who fans know very well for all those years, said that Urban Meyer, while he was stretching preseason, in which he was struggling to make some kicks, kicked him. This is what he told local television in Tampa after the story that came out. Rick Stroud, who was all over the fake vaccination card story of Antonio Brown, had this story in the Tampa Bay Times. Here was Josh Lambo on camera saying this story.
And I see Urban come up to me out of the corner of my eye. I was like, oh man, what now? He comes up to me and he says, hey, Dip, another word, make your effing kicks. And then proceeds to kick me right in the leg, right in the hamstring. Also on the leg, on the hip, that kept me out for 12 games last year. And I couldn't believe it happened. I looked up at him. I said, don't you ever kick me again.
Yes, and Josh Lambo then said the response from Urban Meyer was, I'm the head ball coach. I'll kick you whenever the F I want. Meyer told the newspaper, Tampa Bay Times, quote, Josh's characterization of me in this incident is completely inaccurate, and there are eyewitnesses to refute his account, mentioning Trent Baalke, the general manager, and I met with him on multiple occasions to encourage his performance, and this was never brought up. I was fully supportive of Josh during his time with the team and wish him nothing but the best. Interestingly enough, that he said Lambeau never brought it up. Lambeau said to the Tampa Bay Times that the morning after, he was in the nutritional aisle at the team's training facility making a smoothie. By the way, a smoothie kicker is something that would be good for you down there for our future fantasy football team list names.
Got it.
He said Meyer approached him and said to him, "Are you going to put a smile on that face?" That's what he says to him after he kicked him. And he said, he told Urban, "I'll smile if you stop kicking me." Lambeau saying that the conversation was out of earshot of other players or staff. That his response was, okay, if you don't like me doing this, okay, if you don't like me doing that, fine. But if you ever speak to me like that again, you'll be out of here. You're the first player I've ever let speak to me that way in my career. And if you do it again, you're gone. So clearly, he did bring it up to Meyer the next day. And trust issues are, the issue here in Jacksonville and have been. And again, like I said, that happened back in August. But really, this thing was over, as we all know, when he didn't get on the plane home with the team from Cincinnati earlier this year. That was it. We came on the air that Monday after that happened, or when it came out that he wasn't on the team plane, because we saw where he was and the video of him and his local establishment in Ohio was so jarring to see from a head football coach in the NFL that you guys sent me that information via text.
Yeah.
And my first response was, did he not go back with the team? Right. It had nothing to do with who he was on camera with and what he was doing. It's like, what's he doing in Ohio if the team left Ohio the night before? The minute he didn't get on the plane to go back with his team, this thing was over. Over and done with. I knew it. I think everybody in that facility knew it. Shad Khan didn't want to believe it. I don't blame him for not believing it, because within a month of playing games, he's got to talk about the breach of trust. The constant drama, the constant questions going on, the constant evidence that somebody couldn't grasp what it took to win in the NFL with a winning resume as a CEO head coach was just beyond bizarre the entire time. And that's the ultimate indictment of Urban Meyer, is that he didn't adjust or think he had to adjust, that everyone had to adjust to him, whether it's a kicker getting kicked and being called in dip S, or coaches being brought in at the professional level and being asked to defend their resume, to adjust to my behavior when I don't come back on the plane and go and get caught on video and embarrass everybody. Okay, I apologize to you, but only after, I apologize in strange ways, not calling the team totally together until it's reported he didn't. And the ultimate thing is his way didn't work, because Josh Lambeau got cut 3 games in because he kept missing kicks. Didn't work. So his coaching style didn't make anybody better. Certainly didn't make Trevor Lawrence better. Certainly didn't make anybody else. Certainly made James Robinson worse. Didn't work. That's the ultimate indictment. Didn't work. And for somebody who's supposed to know how it works, I mean, you could see, He went on Fox and talked about the 3 signs of what doesn't work in a winning organization, and that's being spread all over Twitter today. That screen grab. Look at all 3 bullet points. It's everything that was going on with his team. So now it finally dawned on Shad Khan that this was no longer workable. And now with the statement that happened, as you pointed out, TJ, in the middle of the night, said that he's bitterly disappointed to arrive at the conclusion that an immediate change is imperative for everyone. As I stated in October, that's when he was caught on Twitter, not at home after not having flown back with the team, which I've never heard of in the NFL. Regaining our trust and respect was essential. Regrettably, it did not happen. Darrell Bevell will now be the interim head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I looked it up, folks. He is the first ever in NFL history to be an interim head coach in back-to-back seasons. That's who the Lions turned to last year when they fired Matt Patricia, middle of the season. He's the Ted McGinley of coaches, basically.
That's not a good thing.
No. You're on there, and the program's canceled. After being successful elsewhere. So now comes the who's next, and we'll hit all that. That's for another day. But for today is the day where you've got to sit back and just call it what it is, a spectacular faceplant. This is not about my school having been beaten by this guy 7 straight times. He deserves all the plaudits for that. And maybe that's where he needs to go back to college, where kids can't talk back to him and coaches have to defend their resumes to him, and he can go on whatever team plane he wants to go on, and he could do whatever he wants because he wins. That's not the way it works in the National Football League. That's when the NFL stands for not for long. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.